Hello, my children, and welcome to a very special episode of Historic Hindsight, where today we're going to talk to you about the Word of God.
That's right, Johnny. It's the Word of God. Where you're in your very appropriate. There, yep. Lift up your
Just in
Catholic,
case you couldn't see it, yep.
which is bringing
Part
them
I'll part the seas like Moses did.
with your beard. It's bringing back to all those Sunday school classes that I didn't actually really attend very many of because my parents were Catholic in name.
Well, I assume you've been going to your confessional booth then and talking to your local pastor about that.
I've gone to confession once in my life, and it was only once.
One time.
And
How long has it been since your last confession?
Oh,
we're not. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
You got caught up in your whole job.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, my last confession was way back when I went through First Communion when I was like 11. So it's been a minute.
See, I was raised Lutheran, which is Catholic light. So we didn't do the confession stuff, but we did do the classes and everything, communion and being confirmed and all that jazz.
Yeah, I didn't get confirmed. I didn't make it that far. I failed. I'm a bad Catholic.
You bum.
And as a bad
You
Catholic, I'm
bum.
gonna enjoy my sins of tobacco and sins of absinthe alcohol with the hallucinogenic properties of that. While we're talking about Mother Teresa. And,
yes, one of our lovely saints who is not an idol.
No, she's not an idol.
Different than
thing.
saints are
Sainthood,
different
yeah.
than idols in some way.
In some way, yes. If you don't know who Mother Teresa is, she's a founder of the Order of Missionaries that, at its height, had 4,500 nuns, 300 active priests, and was active in 133 countries and sanctioned as a charity organization by the Catholic Church.
Okay, so she was like a CEO of a charity type organization, essentially. But she created all these and spread a bunch of. What were they mostly? Just missionaries things?
It was mostly shelters for homeless, education centers for children, and clinics or homes for the sick and needy. So she focused a lot on the poor and
hospitals and children work and education and I assume orphans and stuff.
Yes, yeah, all that stuff.
Things of that nature. So great. That's good stuff.
Her whole goal was to help the poor, needy, and sick.
Just like Jesus.
Houses and shelters that were set up for those suffering from tuberculosis, AIDS, leprosy. A lot of the things that people weren't really wanting to mess with in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Right. Well, and some of it we didn't truly understand either.
Yeah, AIDS,
with the AIDS and things like that, it was just we were getting sick people, and we didn't really know why.
Yeah.
Or what was causing it.
And so like all of our episodes that we have on our biographies, we tell a little bit more of the full story. Now, I'm not going to give a huge biography on her. I think Mother Teresa is a well enough known figurehead that if you don't know her works, you can go find her works. I'm not going to discredit the good that she did. But we want to tell all of the story, and even saints, Johnny. I've got the one and only Bible verse quote that you're ever probably going to hear come out of my mouth on this episode, and it is, "For all that have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." So even our saints, they're sinners, and they fall short of the glory of God.
They are just people in the end, but to be a saint, become a saint, you have to have performed a miracle.
Two miracles. That have been approved by the Pope himself has to say, yes, that was in fact a miracle.
Okay, so pulling into a parking lot for the grocery store and the first parking spot, somebody backing up as you're approaching, which is a miracle. You get that first spot. That would probably not count.
Probably not count.
Because I've done that a couple times.
I don't think the Pope would. I don't think the Pope would sanction that one. But basically,
I was wondering why he's not responded to my application.
Yeah, right. Every human has a dark side, regardless of how good you are. Watch our Civil War in Hindsight. Here's my cheap plug for that. But Lincoln, as good as he was as a president, did some awful things that were probably not constitutionally legal, like arresting people without charges.
Yeah, a couple things. Well, and I am sure George Washington did something bad, maybe one time in his life.
Oh, we'll have an episode on George Washington upcoming. So
slaves, maybe.
So with that said,
I don't know.
This episode is going to be ripping Mother Teresa down off her pedestal.
Oh God! So we're tearing her down.
We're tearing her down.
Knocking her off her sainthood pedestal.
Knocking her off her saint.
That's a tall order.
No, it's not.
How are we going to do that?
Yeah, it's not a tall.
It's not hard.
It's not hard because the first thing you got to do is look at her clinics. Where she's supposedly helping all these poor people and sick people. So,
and keep in mind, it's not her personally. To be fair,
No, I mean, but this is all done on her order.
But it's
and,
it's you go to the top and
yeah, if you're the head of this, we're going to blame the head because you're the head. And some of her comments that she has, that I have some quotes from her, we'll go ahead and really feed you into what kind of person.
All right, well, tell me all about why Mother Teresa deserves to have her sainthood ripped from her and be just canceled. I guess we can cancel her.
Yeah, cancel culture. We probably could cancel culture her. So
Okay.
she had
well, we'll see at the end of it.
Yep. Yeah, she had an odd view on how to help people, and by help people, there's a sense that a lot of her actions were done for the image of helping more than they were for the actual act of helping, as there wasn't much medical anything given in her clinics that were supposed to be there for medical care.
So she had clinics, but not medical supplies?
Yeah. So instead of trying to end poverty or to increase the education of the poor, decrease the disenfranchisement of women, or to treat the ill, her actions were designed to bring attention to the Catholic Church and to maintain that status quo. We want poor people, but we want the world to see us trying to help these poor people. We're not going to fix the problem of the poor. We're just going to go in there.
Because they could do that by just, taxing the churches. But don't bother with that. We just want to make it look like we're trying to help. This sounds a lot like that voluntourism idea, where you go to a foreign country, to some orphanage or whatever, and all the kids are so loving everybody, and you get your pictures taken and everything, when really all you're doing is scarring these children for life. Because the reason they're so willing to hug and embrace strangers is because they've been abandoned countless times, and they just want any sort of love
and attention they can get. Yep.
Like, go see if these random kids in America will just run up and hug you. They're terrified of strangers, rightfully so.
Well, unless you find children from my line of X work, so then they'll definitely run up and hug you. Yeah.
Those similar
DC,
situations.
those Department of Child Services children. Yeah.
Yeah, people craving love, essentially. Okay. Anyway, so that's kind of what they're going for, though, is that image of we're helping, but
not actually.
I have to actually do anything.
Yeah. So she even had some fun things to say on this subject about not really wanting to help people. So she believed that leprosy was a gift from God because it gave Christians a way to love the unloved, and that essentially, if we have leprosy and there's that suffering, these are people that aren't going to be loved. So by me going and trying to help them as a good Christian,
you can get those feel goods.
It's a way for you to learn compassion. Christians learn compassion by the people who are suffering and them helping them.
Sure, it's okay. You can't have the good without the bad. You have to have some suffering to appreciate the joy in the high times. How did this God decide who got to be a leper?
Well,
and then be worried upon and doted on.
Well, Johnny,
or whatever.
According to Mother Teresa, pain and suffering was a way to remember that pain and sorrow, suffering are but the kiss of Jesus, a sign that you have come close to him so that he can kiss you. So anytime you're given cancer or leprosy or AIDS, it's Jesus kissing you because you're closer to him, because you're about ready to kick the bucket, I guess.
You're gonna die.
Because you're gonna die.
This seems to be like a bit of a pull from when Jesus was actually alive and going around and curing the lepers and
by
the
kissing
sick
them.
And helping and washing their feet, doing all that. So he was doing the things, and so they got closer to Jesus because they had that. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the Catholics are aware of this. Jesus died on the cross. He said he was going to come back. And he did for like a day, and then he rose, and then they're like, oh, he's going to come back again? He already came back once, guys. Forget about it.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
But anyway, he's not here.
No.
He's not here to get close to them. Yeah. So it's like, they're saying, oh, you got this VIP pass to get backstage with your leprosy. But Jesus didn't make it tonight, sorry.
Nope, didn't make it, sorry. And
you can meet him in heaven after we, bless you or whatever, and feel good, and then go back to our suburbs.
Yeah. And speaking of all that pain, she had no painkillers at her clinic because that would be denying Jesus' kiss. So all that pain and suffering was meant to be felt. So this goes, again, and harkens back to that. She wasn't really treating. She just wanted the world to see her housing them and helping them, doing the good
she gave them
thing.
a place to
die.
suffer.
Yeah, she gave him a place to suffer and die. Yeah.
To suffer and then die, and that's nothing more. No quality of life treatment. No sort of help. And this happened in the I assume the 1500s.
No, this is your 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
The 1960s, 70s.
Yeah, the
19
ones. Yeah, the 19 ones.
This shit was going on.
Yeah,
and
this,
like,
yeah.
Sorry,
This is our life. This is our.
give up with
This
that.
is our lifetime. Yeah, this is our lifetime, Johnny. So speaking of that whole no treatment thing, the sanitation at her clinics was far from ideal, as her staff never had any sanitizing of anything. And when asked,
rule number one of a hospital
is be sanitary.
Sanitize shit.
Yeah, and when asked, like, why aren't you boiling the water before giving the patients dirty ass water? Why aren't you boiling your equipment before using said equipment? And Mother Teresa said, "There's no point." Quote, "There's no point." So
because I'm not helping them or giving them any sort of painkiller, so it's all they're
it's
gonna
all
die
fine.
anyway. This is probably helping them. Maybe they'll get some sort of sickness from the water and then die early and be free from their earthly bodies and go join Jesus.
Yep.
Right?
So Johnny, these treatments that she would use, they would often use needles. You're going to need needles in the hospital or clinic because you're going to need blood transfusions, saline solutions, all that fun stuff. Those needles were reused.
Oh.
And not only were they reused, Johnny, they were only cleaned in cold water.
Just
useless. Just completely yeah. So you're treating.
I guess it'll get the blood chunks off of it. I guess from other people, maybe because I'm guessing they were just like, there's a needle into you anyway. So yeah, maybe it'll get the little bits off.
Let it sink in that the needles were being reused, and that she was treating people
in
with
the 60s,
AIDS.
70s, and 80s and 90s,
treating people with AIDS.
Mm-hmm,
in the same room as people with leprosy and tuberculosis. Swapping out those needles between these people. What could possibly go wrong? Anyways, soiled linens were washed in the same facilities as dishes. So we're going to wash blooded sheets.
Excuse me?
Pissed on
Did she
sheets.
come up with a dishwasher-washer combo? Like, put some racks in the dishwasher that don't spin, and then you just close tumbling around it?
Yep. Also in cold water, by the way, not hot water.
Of course, yeah. Well, hot water is expensive. Let's be honest.
Those patients were also bathed in cold water. Upon seeing this, one of the volunteers had came forward to let a lot of this stuff known. Had said, I even volunteered to buy and put in a hot water heater for the facility because everything was cold. And Mother Teresa goes, no, this is the way Jesus wants it.
Yeah, so they assumed that, oh God, we're not giving the funding that we need to be giving to this worthy cause. Let me help a facility and buy a water heater. And they're like, no,
we don't need that.
No. Jesus didn't have hot water. Which they probably boiled water and stuff.
There's definitely still ways to have hot water.
Anyway, but not out of a faucet.
Not out of a faucet,
so they don't need it either.
If all of this wasn't bad enough, the vast majority of the volunteers aren't trained for their positions that they held. In the homes and clinics, it was rare to find medical trained personnel and medical staff in a clinic that's supposed to be helping treat people with
medical clinic.
Yeah.
But you're asking volunteers, so it's literally I guess if you're not providing treatment anyway, the training curve is probably pretty low. It's I don't know, throw some cold water on them sometimes, and then reuse these noodles so that we found that they die faster that way. So continue to do that.
Continue to do that.
Because mission accomplished.
Kiss of Jesus. They would often strap babies down into the bed so that they wouldn't move around, especially during feeding time, so that they couldn't be bothered to be held and picked up and all that fun stuff. Children.
Well, of course. Okay. Well, discipline your children, and they will give you the peace of mind and will make your heart glad.
Yeah.
Although I'm guessing Mother Teresa was reading an extra word into that, and she said it'll give you peace of mind, and that will make your heart glad, not the children.
Yeah.
She didn't care about the children.
Because she also tied elderly and children down to the beds as well with rope, and occasionally elderly to the trees. And I'm assuming the only thing I can think
trees?
Yeah, the only thing I can think of with this is she's inevitably going to be getting people with lots of mental health, dementia, mental health issues. So that's the only thing I can think of as a rationale as to why this might have been going on.
Now, I can understand if she is dealing with a lot of mental health issues. Insane asylums, places like that, will have to strap patients down for their own safety so that they don't claw their eyes out, rip their skin off, hit themselves, things like that. And so, yeah, I could understand that. But trees,
Little odd.
what are you doing there?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not helping.
No, no. Outside of the conditions of the clinic, she had some less than ethical actions and ideas about the spread of Catholicism. According to one of Mother Teresa's good friends, Father Mossberg, Mother Teresa had a habit of baptizing patients that were on their deathbed against their wishes. This included Jews, Muslims, and Hindus. So these are things that those individuals of those religions definitely would not want to be done to them.
Well,
But she's doing it to spread Catholicism, and of course, they're on their deathbed, so she wants them to go to heaven with the real God, not their phony gods.
Sure, and to you or me, perhaps, I wouldn't give a shit if someone tried baptizing me on my deathbed. I'm not a very religious person, and so I wouldn't care. But if I were a deeply religious person with a different religion, and they're like, oh, this process converts you from A to B, and now you're B, I would be a little upset. Or the family, I guess, probably are the ones who are really upset if they found out about it.
Afterwards, Yep.
Good God.
So
now, and this is under her direction and under her care.
Oh no, she did this.
She did. Oh God. She did the
was
baptizing.
Yes.
But did she tie people to trees?
Under her. Under her. This is what's all
under
been,
her facility.
Yeah, this is what's all been reported by witnesses.
But she was fine. I mean, she clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, that was. I'm sure that direction was given from somewhere, and. Yeah. She approved of it at the very least.
She approved of it at the very least. By the way, all this information comes from multiple documentaries that have been done, post her death, and even during her death. There was one that was done during her death called Hell's Angel that goes deeply into the money aspect that we'll be talking about here in a little bit.
See, I think that might be the one because I wanted to learn more about her because I think that might be the one that I've heard of that I'm like, wait, she wasn't all good, but I heard of it like watching 3 seconds of a trailer and seeing a YouTube like a comment. I don't know. So how I gather all my information
from point A to point B.
A headline and a couple of comments.
Yeah. So feeding into the whole perception of doing good, she followed through with a practice that was old and medieval in the Catholic Church, although they've recently brought it back, called the Practice of Indulgences, where you could buy your way into heaven. So you could be a horrible, awful sinner, but you could buy your way through these indulgences into heaven by making mass donations to the church. Raped a little boy? That's cool. I'll just pay the church $5 million and it'll all go away. And they'll say,
you think the church demands $5 million from child rapists, Tommy? Give me a fucking break. All they do is send them to a different place so they can rape more children.
All right. Well, anyways.
Prove me wrong.
No, I'm not. So anyway, so the indulgences, she brought that on there. So again, the rich can pity, you can take the rich, and this is a horrible practice in the Catholic Church, where you can take the rich and they can continue to get out of jail free cards just by donating mass amounts of money to the church.
I mean,
while at the same time. But that's kind of
how religion's been set up forever.
While at the same
the rich people
get out by paying, and the poor people get demonized and looked at as charity cases.
No, they're the fertile soil of the earth, Tommy. We need all those poor people because without them, they might have things that I also have and we can't have.
Yeah, well, without the poor people, the rich people wouldn't have a way to get out of jail free by feeling bad about the poor people and donating money to the church. Right. So the church needs the poor people to make money.
Okay, so I thought you were going to go with indulgences like my grandmother caught one of my uncles smoking once, and she was a smoker. And so she sat down at the kitchen table, bought a whole carton of cigarettes, and said, "We're smoking this whole carton." And they did, and he threw up like 9 times and never smoked again. So I thought it was like one of those where it's like, hey, if you're being indulgent in something, let's really overdo it, because everything's fine in moderation, but when you start overdoing anything, it can mess you up. But that's not it. It was just pay money.
You mean if I drink this whole bottle of absinthe, I might go on a murdering spree? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think if you drink that, you'll be in the hospital.
I probably will be.
Is what'll happen.
That's why I'm moderating. I get one drink tonight.
That's right. Yeah. So you're not indulging, so we don't have to force you to drink at all.
Nope. So speaking of all that indulgences and paying off the church, her missionaries received between $30 to $70 million a year in donations to her organization. Now let that sit in for a second. $30 to $70 million a year spread across her program. It might not be a ton of money, but it's still $30 to $70 million a year. That was clearly not actually going to those clinics because they weren't.
And so those clinics are. She had had them in 113 countries.
Yeah, but
so each of them are getting several $100,000 a year.
Yeah, at least
from donations. Alone.
Yeah.
And probably some are getting more and some are getting less, whatever.
Or should be if all that money was going to her. But speaking of that money, we don't really know where all that money went. When she died, there was a secret account that was found that contained $100 million in her name, and we're not entirely sure whether that money was her money or that money was the organization's money because she never really kept the two separate. We do know
it was just her slush fund.
It was her slush fund. We do know that the Catholic Church has taken over or took over the entire operation of the money for this charity in the 1960s. Mm-hmm. And then they were very, very, very hush-hush. 1965, they took over, and they were very, very hush-hush about where the money goes. So I'm pretty sure that absolutely no money ever went to one of the Catholic, cardinals' mansions.
Now, to be fair, maybe they tried giving all the money to Mother Teresa, and she's like, what do we need all this money for? We don't buy any supplies for our facilities. We don't heat the water. Our electric bills are low. Like, we don't need it. So you take it. Do whatever you want with it. And maybe she was very giving in that way.
Yeah, it might have been it. That might have been it, yeah. We do know that around 7% of the money actually is accounted for that went to the charity, but only 7% of the money is accounted for. One of the head of the orders that took over after Mother Teresa passed away was Sister Normala, and she said about the money, and I quote, "God knows he is our banker." Where'd the money go?
No, he isn't.
God knows he's our banker. So
if he was your banker, he would give you the book that he kept all of the information in. It would show everything. If he is, he's a shit banker. He should be able to provide that information.
Yeah. You should.
God.
Yep.
Can we have it? We're interested.
Where's the ledgers? This is probably why we should be taxing churches. I'm just saying.
Oh, is this why?
If you get $100 million donation and there's no accountability for it. I mean, we at least have to have accountability for it. I mean, if I were to get $100 million right now from a relative, which is never going to happen because my relative is going to reach, there's going to be taxes on it, and then I'm going to have to explain where that money came from.
Pay all of my taxes on that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Anyways.
I don't give a shit. I'll pay them.
Yep.
Because you know why? You know why, Tommy?
Because
I use the shit the taxes go to pay for.
There is that. This is all pretty much this money-making scheme. On top of all this bad money, bad conditions in the hospitals, she had some less than appropriate views nowadays. And if we're going to take a modern approach to things that were said in the past and holding them to the same standards of today...
I mean, it's all we do now. We dig through Twitter to find old dirt on people.
So speaking of
what did you think 15 years ago, bud?
So
10 years ago, however long Twitter's been around.
So speaking of that dirt, she said some really awful things about AIDS.
Of course she did.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew. I mean, everybody was saying horrid shit.
No, but Johnny, this was in 1989 after everybody knew what AIDS actually was. And
after we
knew
did
that
all that.
It wasn't just a gay thing. Yeah.
So was this around the time when all the conservatives started wearing masks to protect themselves from AIDS? I think that was late 80s, early 90s type.
Yeah, probably. Anyways, in 1989, she was being honored at a luncheon by the National Health Organization in Washington, D.C., where she said at this meeting, at this luncheon, that AIDS is, and I quote, just retribution for improper sexual conduct.
There it is.
In 1989. This is years after.
Because this is back when we thought only gay people had AIDS.
No. Johnny, this is years after we thought that. This is years after.
No. But I'm guessing she was old at this time. She still thought only gay people got AIDS.
This is years after all that's going on. This is years after Ryan White was publicly speaking about his infection through blood transfusion. So
oh man, Ryan White, talk about manufactured memories. I thought that kid went to school with me.
That was a manufactured memory.
Because like the way that we talked about him and everything,
Yeah.
I thought he was just in some other class, and then
Wait,
like,
wasn't he?
That's why we were
Well, hold
talking
on, but
about
wasn't
him and everything.
did he go to those schools?
I don't know.
He went to some school in Indiana. I don't remember where it was.
Did he?
Yeah, he was
All
from
right,
Indiana. He's definitely from Indiana. There's a whole like
Maybe
wing.
he did go to school with me.
No, not with you. He would. No, he.
Okay, yeah, are the same school?
I don't. Maybe.
Where was he from? All right.
I don't know. He was from
He
Indiana.
was from. No, he was. Kokomo. No.
Kokomo.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it was a completely manufactured memory.
Yep.
Just because of the way that they talked about him. And I'm like, oh shit, that sounds bad. And I didn't know what they were talking about, what was going on. But anyway, so he had come out, he'd done his thing. People knew about AIDS and blood transfusions and everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it's still about the gays because I did a lot of blood transfusions and please don't look into that.
Yeah, don't look into my sharing of needles. On top of all of this, there's some questionable friendships that she developed over the years. She was basically a Catholic missionary, so went around the world meeting people, talking to people. Now, some of this,
you know who else had questionable friendships, Tommy?
The Catholic Church.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, I did. Okay, but hold on a second.
He slept with nope.
Nope.
He didn't sleep with him.
Nope.
He spoke with them and had lunch with them.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
That, slip.
Although speaking of that, Mary Magdalene was not a hooker. That was all a derived thing to get her a book in the Bible thrown out when they were compiling the Bible 300 years later. So yeah. Anyway, that's another story for another time. Anyways, so the she
I'll add it to the list.
She met with and befriended a Catholic militia group in Lebanon, where not Lebanon, Indiana, the country, where
I assumed when you said militia group that it was not Lebanon, Indiana.
Well.
You didn't say KKK.
I didn't say that. So this militia group would actually go on to commit mass execution of up to 3,500 refugees at the Sabra and Chatila missionary camps, which now I'm not saying that this was sanctioned by her, but she did meet with this group. She was a Catholic missionary. These were Catholic and Christian militia group that went on to
executing other
like
refugees from another country.
Yes,
refugees.
Yep.
Now, when can you call them refugees when you round them up and then just execute them?
No,
at that point, is that not just a sort of
concentration camp?
Concentration camp junior, or something?
It is a concentration camp light. Yeah, it's concentration camp light. She was also very friendly with Ronald Reagan, who awarded her the Medal of Freedom. Who at the same now this is where it's kind of fun against anti-Catholics because at the same time he was giving her the Medal of Freedom, he was supporting the San Salvador government that raped and murdered 4 nuns and the archbishop there, because clearly these women were not just nuns; they were political activists who were causing the unrest in the country and deserved what they got.
And so their punishment is you get raped and murdered.
Yes. Yeah. She was also friendly with a Charles Keating, who gave lots of donations to her organization, and this money was very, very dirty and obtained from him selling junk bonds that actually would wind him in jail in the 1990s. So,
she didn't know that.
Yeah, she was actually
right?
No, she was actually brought on many occasions. Her donations would come under question. Evidence was brought to her attention that this money was dirty, either stolen or drug money, and that's it. Money's money. She never gave any of it back. Like, nope, we're going to use it, and by use it, I mean go into the Vatican and disappear.
Right. So I would be totally fine if she had all sorts of dirty money. I don't give a shit where it's coming from. If she was putting that money into her facilities and providing good treatment and setting up good care and all that stuff. I don't care where your money comes from. Like if someone's laundering money through whatever, I don't care if you're doing good things. But she was taking that money and then bathing people in cold water, reusing needles to give them AIDS and leprosy combined, probably.
AIDS.
Leprades. And now all of a sudden, everything's getting worse. But she's sitting on a pile of money, or the Catholic Church. I don't know. She wasn't like these mega preachers today that have their private jets and everything, right? She was still living sort of as a nun.
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah. I mean, from what good. And if all of that wasn't bad enough, my final thoughts here is that she probably shouldn't be a saint. The whole sainthood.
I mean, really.
The whole saint.
What were? Do you know what her two miracles were?
So,
what were her two miracles?
So both her miracles were simply people saying that they prayed to her to cure their illness and that it was cured.
That's weak sauce.
Yeah, weak sauce. The one major question in her healing is the first miracle that she had is Monica Besra, who prayed to Mother Teresa to cure her cancer. Well, it comes to find out that she never actually had cancer. The tumor that she had was actually a benign cyst that was caused from her tuberculosis that she learned of. So, yay! You cured her of something that didn't exist.
I mean, I can do that. All right, so I can do that. So far, so good. I can become a saint still. This is looking all right.
And her second miracle was like a son prayed that his mother would get cured, and she got cured, and it was like, okay.
She had like the flu?
Both these patients
got over it.
Both these patients had medical attention, modern medical attention, were being treated by doctors. So yeah, I mean, I guess you might you can have that old tale argument, well, like God was working through the doctors, which is fine.
God created the scientists, so it's still he's still doing it.
Yeah, which is fine. But I mean,
which is weird. If I were creating everybody, all the people, everything, if I were doing that, I would make them all just put a little chip in their brain, say, like me, figure it out, like, know me, and I'm the one. He didn't do that.
No.
And so there's all sorts of...
I'm just saying, when I think of miracles from a saint, I would think of, like, Jesus. I touch you, and you now see.
Okay, so you want the televangelist. You want televangelist to now be saint. Like, I saw one, this was amazing. This woman, poor thing, had uneven arms.
Did he make him even?
He made them even.
Oh!
They were like that before, and then... Oh! And then they were even. Miracle.
Miracle, yeah.
Make that guy a saint.
Yeah,
we need it one more time.
Dude, we need to do an episode on that because remember when we were kids and you late night TV and you have that guy who was selling like the holy water and shit, and he was always he'd call people out from the audience and he'd smack them on the head and you're healed.
Oh yeah.
That was all.
Yeah, I think he's still doing it.
Yeah, he still does, but it was all a hoax and he was called out on it because he.
Oh, excuse me.
We need to do
Tommy.
an episode of that guy.
It's a hoax for the unfaithful.
Okay, fine.
You know what's not a hoax are those knives they sell at late night television commercials
that can cut through a tin can. Yeah.
Cut through everything. Just slice.
Cut through it once.
Perfect. Get all of them. That's fine. And then you get the sharpener that they sell 2.5 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. That works. So that's Mother Teresa. Now, I'm not going on record here saying that Mother Teresa was a Hitler. She wasn't a Hitler.
Right.
I'm just saying she wasn't like this above human saint deity thing that we should be worshiping and putting up on a pedestal.
Take her down a notch. She gave in to her humanly wants, desires, needs, whatever the case may be, and kind of had some negative, twisted views on what helping meant.
At best, she was a religious zealot who was really about washing people's feet with cold water the Jesus way.
That's it for this week in Historic Hindsight. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review, and join us next week when we talk about the Kirk-Holden War.